We are live.
Okay, so we got to give out this link though, right?
I gave it out, so just post it out. I'll put on the comments. We are live.
Are you gonna do that?
I got that. Just post it on Twitter.
Okay, but
I tagged you. I didn't tag Eric though.
I got it.
Sweet. We are. What are we like? Episode technically like 58.
Yeah, if we're going by that.
Yeah. We'll just do the quick intro. Welcome to the Docking Bay 94 podcast, episode 58-ish. I am your host, Jason Hancock, with my co-host, Jason Washburn.
Yo.
And we also have Eric Alvarado, the designer of vinyl, with us.
Hello.
We are, for people who are in the future, we are doing this in the final hour of our vinyl Kickstarter. Just before, so you can listen to it later. So welcome you guys. Welcome to viewers that we have already. Thanks for joining us.
Hello out there in viewerland.
I figured we'd talk a little bit about vinyl, the trip where it's kind of started with, where it's gone, the campaign, and a lot of that. And apparently, of course, as soon as I start recording, now the dog wants out. Go figure.
Hey man, that's the way it is.
So let's start with Eric.
Yeah.
When did vinyl become a concept? How long ago? How long have you been working on this bad boy? Because I know for at least 3 years.
Yeah. Basically, it's. I think it basically came up in, I want to say, January. Oh, it was the January before we all met. So that's 2 Novembers ago. So it's 16, probably January 16, December 15.
So right before that unpub that Chris Kirkman tweeted out.
Correct. Yeah. Pretty much what wound up happening was, it was originally a concept that a friend of mine and I were kicking around. I wound up taking it, and originally the concept of the game was, something where I wanted to trade up albums. So you get caught with some fodder from your grandmother's basement, and you try and trade it up, and that just didn't work out. It flopped pretty quickly, and then went over to trying to set up a storefront to attract customers, and that didn't do too well either. And Unpub was slowly creeping up, and I needed to have something together. And then pretty much the epiphany hit me with the store collecting type of thing with some action tokens, and that's the version that Kirkman saw. I guess that'd be 3 Unpubs ago. I'm losing track these days.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and that's the version he saw, and then refined it a bit and took it to BGG. Met you guys at speed dating. You guys stopped by, came back. We shook hands, and then you guys said, "Hey, we got some other stuff that we're doing, but can you make this a little thicker?" And so we went back and added in a whole bunch of stuff to make the game really sing. And that's pretty much the abbreviated history, shall I say?
Well, to pick it up from there, is like I said, it was Kirkman that had tweeted it, and what was kind of funny is that at that time, which I've said several times, and I've even said to Kirkman, I'm like, okay, that looks cool. Vinyl record collecting, that's like right up my alley. And I thought for sure he was going to like pick it up, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know you, I figured it was something that was farther along. And it kind of, and I felt like it was going to be in Dice Hate Me's wheelhouse. I'm like, cool, he'll grab that, and then we'll have a game about record collecting. But then, like you said, we met at BGG Con, and when we came up to the publishers, the design thing, I had saw you sitting there with vinyl. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, that I want to check out. I told Wash. So that's why I positioned ourselves like 2 tables, away to hit you up within the first couple. And and that's how we kind of found out about you and found it is meeting over that way too.
Yeah, because I didn't even know crap, and he's like, "Dude, vinyl's here." I'm like, "What? We gotta get that game." All right. No, Chris played it. He says it's pretty good. All right. I was like, okay.
So yeah, so then we sat through that, talked to you. We met afterwards, and then we played with Mo. The four of us sat down and played it that next day, actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I remember next day went upstairs, met with you. We played a 4-player version, and yeah, you guys were hook, line, sinker. You know, you liked it, and you know, like I said, we afterwards, I remember being downstairs at the bar, and you know, I think the thing that you guys were saying is, hey, you know, this is great. What else do you think you could do with it? And I remember coming home and seeing my wife. I'm like, hey, I just got signed up, and she's like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, but you know, I got to spend a little time on vinyl and see if I can thicken it up. She's like, okay, well, you know, it's at least you got a good heartbeat there. So, you know, there's always, I think what's been interesting with vinyl is that it's always had a good foundation right from the get-go. I think, you know, once I hit version 3, because I versioned my designs with the set collection, I think that's when I knew I really had something. At that point was just seeing how I could make it really pop. And you know, I'm a designer that thinks theme first, and then design second. So I want to always make sure the theme was stitched in whatever I did.
Oh yeah, and for definitely for the worker placement, and then he added the bump out mechanics. I don't think you had that at that point.
No.
No.
In fact, yeah, that came out later.
Which added a nice touch to it. That keeps everybody engaged in the game. That's the one thing I really like that came out with that.
Yeah, that kind of evolved. I remember the first phone call. I think I may have been early December, and
first 10-hour phone call with Eric.
Why got to be 10 hours?
Where I speak 5% of the time? Yeah, that's that phone call.
I mean, what the hell? That's how you want to roll. No, so
you invite me and I'm drinking tequila, so I'm good to go.
All right, brother man. So the first phone call when we got back, right? Like we talked about a lot of stuff, but I remember saying that I said I wanted to see some player powers. I wanted to see something like that, something along those lines. And so we kind of talked about what that would be, and someone got a order of pizza or something.
No, Lucy's scratching.
I'll take a couple slices.
Right.
This is like me talking in your ear when you're going up through drive-through.
Right.
I would never talk on the phone in the drive-through. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay. Right.
So anyway, we had that discussion, and I kind of asked that, and then you said, okay, well, let me throw some stuff together. And I think we waited like a week and a half or 2 weeks, or maybe it was after Christmas. And then we had a discussion. You kind of threw some stuff out there. And at the time, I know the first time we played it, there was no board underneath it. And the only thing you did was you took your meeple and you put it on the bin, and each bin and you had to go to the back of the line and some different stuff. And then we kind of talked about, well, what if we kind of make it a worker placement? Then you came back with like one location, and then we talked about, well, other worker games, and what do we want to do with that? Are they going to do they get sent home, or because as it was, you couldn't go to that bin. The guy went to the bin. He went to the back of the line. You had to give him a spoils, right? Correct. That was the original. Correct. So, and we kind of talked about how to evolve that a little bit. And we just kind of said, well, what if there was a secondary action? And I kind of remember that conversation being that way. And then you could get double bumped out, but that was the only way you could get sent home was that way. So, and that kind of was pretty early. I would have January or February. We kind of had that mechanic added, and then just kind of started moving forward from there. And then I started putting the artwork together. So it was kind of interesting in the way that kind of fell. It seemed like everything on this was kind of that way, though. Yeah, like
everything just kind of fell into line. I mean, you two of you worked your asses off on it, but at the same time, the digital aspect or the art aspect kind of fell in line with the game. The graphic design, the two, I think, kind of helped each other. One, the game design helped the graphic design, and then when you were coming up with graphic design ideas, that also helped Eric going, oh, well, if you're going to do that, we can go this route then.
Yeah, I think it was some of that, and then it was funny because I would have a discussion with him, and then I'd call you. I'd be like, "This is what we talked about," and then you'd be like, "Would you talk about this?" I said, "Well, yeah, we talked about that a little bit." You're like, "No, I think you need to talk about it more."
It got to the point where I said, "Hey, did you talk to Hancock?"
Right. I said, "No, I got to fill him in." So we kind of go back and forth that way, but yeah, I mean, I would say the bulk of it, like late spring, early summer, man, we were really cranking on this thing, and you were playing it like every week. You were iterating it and replaying it with your group, and then summer hit, and then all your play group goes away in the summer. So.
Yeah, well, and that's actually interesting you say that, because I think what wound up happening was prior to meeting you guys, I really didn't have a play group of any sort within the local area. And I remember I had to go to the folks over in Jersey and meet up with them to actually do any play testing. And if you're not familiar with Long Island, that's a $30 investment to get to Jersey. And trust me, it's not worth the investment in the grand scheme of things. But because we're talking Jersey, I like Jersey, but it's come on, $15 to go over one bridge, $15 to go back and forth on another bridge, plus the gas. I mean, come on, really? But anyhow, so what wound up doing was it wound up spurring me to action. I started a game group at my job with the college students and whatnot. So I was able to really go after the crowd that this game would be marketed to. And at the same vein, I was able to also find two game designers, Emerson and Zach, that I was able to sort of get the alpha play tester plus the general population and be able to play them back and forth to get a sense of where vinyl was going to sit well. And that really was sparked from the game getting signed and requiring, iteration after iteration after iteration of play testing. I thought they're going to throw the game at me, but luckily the game was fun. Otherwise, they probably would have thrown it at me as I think about it. But yeah, no, it really well. It went well.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of interesting. I just remember that. And then they kind of the summer happened, and then we had some discussions, and then there was a couple of vacations, so we didn't get much done in July. And I have been working on like trying to get all the artwork done for King's Champion and get that wrapped up, and like I got it all to the like everything except for a couple of the pieces of art through. And then it picked back up for you in August. And then we kind of really tested a few things and then settled on some stuff. And that's what we ended up playing like September, October, and took to BGG November. And it's pretty much stayed the same what that is. I mean, we have modules. So the interesting thing with the game was just kind of how it fit together, right? Like the different modules, like we could stick them on, test them, and play them, but it didn't mess with the base game at all, because it just kind of like puts the base game on crack, right? It doesn't. You don't have to do anything different, and that was one of the neat things. So we could put in the publisher stuff and test it, and bring in the chart topper and test it, and then put, the clearance bin and change the front counter, and we could do all those things, and it didn't alter the basic play of the game. So it was really easy to iterate and get people in. Like I had that here in my game group. Like I could bring hey, we're going to add the clearance bin in this week. I said the game works all the same except for we're going to move albums over here. They don't refill automatically, and you get them for one attribute less. You don't have to match genre. Done. Go. Play. Boom. And then that was it. So the publisher was like the same way. Like that was really cool. Like being able to throw the publisher icons, just knowing what mathematically worked. It was 3 and then the high-low, early decade, late decade. And that was cool. And then just working out the art so we could track it appropriately with cubes made it really nice. And then I think then sometime after that, the Extreme Shopper cards came in, and that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, if I recall, because I started trying taking the time to write and share with the backers some of the evolution. Because I mean, I think a lot of the things you're seeing in the expansions are ideas that we had, but we couldn't make it fit. And we,
right into the base game.
In the base game,
we need to modular it out. Right.
Because I remember having swag. And swag became now memorabilia for metal. I remember having, we talked about doing singles for at one point I was doing singles, and then singles now got infused into British Invasion, which I don't know where we're at, people, but that's something we were striving for. So, whether if it didn't fit because it didn't match the classic theme, it was something that we tested, and it was like, oh, wow, this thing's got a heartbeat. Okay, it doesn't fit. Let's put it on the docket and see if it could slide in at some point.
Yeah, bring it in somewhere.
Yeah.
We are sitting at 37,235 right now with 698 backers.
So we're close to the tokens, which I'm excited for, because the reward tokens now were just a prototype. We just made those cards so we could track it some way. And we had talked about making them tokens. We never got to that in a prototype. We iterated these once. They were brown. They were like on brown paper for a while, and then I iterated them to the blue.
Do you remember why though? And that's the thing is, so with that one, if you recall, goodness gracious, when we retired collections, all we did was, I remember we had to look at some chart or something like that for, you retired 5, you get X points and whatnot. And it was just a lot of math. And, you had to break out the abacus and all that other nonsense.
Right.
And then it was like, well, wait a second. What if we just break the math out, do it for them, and then have it also descend in value and just amp up the stress level? And bam, it worked. And it worked.
Oh, yeah. A lot of tension with those.
Yeah.
A lot of tension. That was cool, though. And then we had talked about making them records, and we just never got to it. But, I'm glad we're pretty close to that. It'd be cool, because then we just stack the little records up and we'll do the colors for that's kind of what I have on there. So the blue will be pure, the orange will be mix 1, the red will be mix 2, and they'll just have the number for the points. But then also too, with the top shelf, we talked about incorporating that back into the top shelf for currency for the top shelf. So you'll have a number of attributes that you'll need. Plus, you'll need a blue record or an orange record or a red record, and that helps pull your top shelf albums down into your collection for more points. So actually, it was really neat to be able to thematically do that, because now it just kind of seemed the right thing. You pick up the collection reward record, and then now I need, if I have a blue and an orange record, I can pull. What do we discard mag rack cards, right? X number.
Yep.
And then you match what it needs and discard a number of mag cards, and you pull the top shelf album down.
Right.
As a free action, right? It's a free action currently. So, I mean, that's really kind of cool how that fits. And the records make it really nice, because now we have a color delineation with them. And you could even put points on. You need to at least have a, 3 or higher, right? Like a orange 3 or more.
Right.
And a blue 2 or more. And then discard 3 mag cards, and you can pull that album down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's really cool, and it doesn't slow the game down. That's the other thing that's really neat with the bumps and some of the other stuff. Like that, one of the other games that has the bump is the Gallerist, man, and you play that and you hit your bump action and like, all right, everybody, hold on, I got to do my bump action. And it takes like 5 minutes to do your. But in this,
and then you're like, well, whose turn is it?
Right,
right, yeah.
In this, man, it's just so fast. It's cool.
So Dual Maxwell said you could even work in a market board, but it might require more cards that are duplicates, like a trading mechanic similar to Clans of Caledonia, where the availability of certain attributes affect its market price.
Yeah, so we have that. We actually have that designed. It's called a chart topper. It doesn't quite work exactly like that, but that's the inception of it, right? So records go gold and then they go platinum. So the chart topper works that way. And then the way it was kind of set, and I don't think you'll see it until we do an expansion maybe next year with it, but because neither Eric or I are happy with where it is. It needs some more.
It needs more. It needs more work.
It needs some more work on it, but it's basically
thematically and mathematically, it isn't where we want it quite yet.
Right.
No, but it basically how that works is when you buy an album that's country on the chart topper, it pushes the country up one, and so as it starts to rise, if the group collectively starts buying country albums, then it's going to push that up. Once it crosses from 9 to 10 albums purchased out there between the players, it goes gold. And then once it goes to, I think it was 15 because there's 18 cards. So at 15, it goes platinum. And it's worth more points at the end. So,
no, the top shelf expansion is different.
No, the top, right. So the top shelf works in conjunction with your collecting, right? So if you've, I'll reference Splendor just because a lot of people played it, but if you've played Splendor, when you collect your cards in your tableau, and then when they stack, then you can pull a buyer from the top in Splendor. If you have the numbers you need for each color. Okay, so our chart topper works sort of like that.
Not chart topper, top shelf.
I'm sorry. The top shelf works sort of like that. So
Brian,
thank you.
Sneak it in. That was his idea.
Right. The top shelf, when I complete a collection, I take a collection reward, whatever that is. You can have pure, mixed 1, or mixed 2. So if I pull a pure collection, based on how many albums are in that collection, and I pull a token, a collection reward for that. Once I have that in my possession, then I can use that as a currency towards the top shelf. So a top shelf album is going to be worth X number of collection rewards and possibly another attribute. And then you meet that criteria, you discard mag rack cards, and then you may pull the top shelf at the end of a collection, like when you retire at the end of your turn, is kind of where it sits right now. The chart topper was different because that pushed albums to be worth more at the end of the game.
There was a whole other sideboard. Think of if you Clans of Caledonia market board. There was a whole separate board to keep track.
Yeah. And so what we don't like about it is that it kind of there's nothing tied to it currently except for 1 or 2 things, but that aren't very
things. One, it wasn't very thematic because you're looking at a genre as a quote unquote chart topper, which usually top charter is artist or album.
Correct.
We were struggling with thematic wise, and then there was that as well.
So but we have some ideas on the drawing board for it, and we'll bring it back in definitely because it's too cool not to have in there with what it is. But that kind of came out with the publisher thing, and then we kind of separated the two, and then the publisher just focused on the publisher expansion focuses on the publisher for the album. There are 3 types of publishers in the game. There's what is Electric Records,
Monster, Retro, and
Retro. Yeah.
I know that's like the back of my freaking hand.
Right. So there's 3 publishers that your album can be published by, and then it's either an early decade or a late decade. So what that would have been is you would track those. And as you gain a certain number of Monster published records, you could then unlock a frequent or an extreme shopper. So we have frequent shopper and extreme shopper cards. And you would get a frequent shopper card, which has a power on it that you only possess. It's asymmetrical to anybody else, and it breaks rules in the game.
Right.
So they're very cool. We didn't quite make it that far in this campaign, but I'm sure we'll figure out a way to get them to the backers in some way or another. But
I mean, the way I equated it, the way I equated it in the storytelling was it basically takes your peanut butter, converts it from creamy to crunchy. Because it really does add in a lot of depth into the game on not just collecting based off of what you're trying to do with the albums, but also a whole different decision space on what you're trying to do with the publishers to get specific powers. And then, as Jason, as Wash was talking about, the extreme shopper, so the frequent basically allows you in-game rule breaking. The extreme shopper card allows you to start to break the scoring and start to enhance the scoring. So it really, for those that are ready for that level of graduation, it definitely scratches that itch. There's no 2 ways about that.
Or as High Culture put, Cosmic Vinyl, the game that breaks its own records.
Right. Exactly.
So as you guys, as listeners can see in future, we've got a ton that got some that is finished, I think, pretty much, but we got a ton that we're still working with and that we want to support the game for.
Oh yeah. Well, if I may, I'm going to throw this in because this thing was the bane of my existence, and I finally figured it out, but I couldn't.
The 5th player?
No, I tell you what, I absolutely love. One day
it's
I remember
fun on 5 with 5. I love 5.
One day I was with the play testers, and I was like, guys, I got enough tokens here. I want to do 5 players. And they looked at me like, okay, but you've told us not to go and do 5. It's sort of like the Ghostbusters scene where you're not supposed to cross the streams. Right. And so we threw it down, and oh my God, it was just like a crazed moment, and people would just like at each other. Okay, you got my album? Crap, you screwed me over. All right, I got to do this, and it's just pandemonium. But it worked really well. I'm like, okay, we now have our 5-player rule set here, and it worked really well. But no, I was referring to is the infamous listening booth.
Oh, we're going back to this. I forgot about this.
We've gone round and round on the listening booth.
Well, God, that was because I think I alluded to in one of the writings is that I went to my local record store and I spent like hours in there just walking around, feeling the theme, the ooze, the energy. I mean, it's just and this listening booth, it's just calling my name. I couldn't figure out how to get in the game. I tried a few times, and it didn't work. And then finally at the 11th hour, I figured out what to do with it. But I'm just like with some of the other ideas, it didn't fit. I'm like, crap. Okay, fine. All this work, slap it on the idea board. We'll catch it later. But yeah, it's just one. It
went through like 4 or 5 iterations.
That thing drove me nuts.
We did. We were and we didn't like give up on it either. Like we continued to push it into different areas and Eric would just call me and he's like, man, I just can't. So then we would talk and I'd suggest things and he'd be like, oh, maybe that might, and he would go, he'd play it and he'd come back and be like, no, it like this broke like 3 turns in, it broke. And so, I mean, we really pushed on that hard for in the base. But I think once we got to that space where we're like, okay, so in the 80s expansion, we're going to have a trade-in counter.
Right.
Okay, so then we could incorporate that mechanic we wanted, but with that expansion or module only. So when you play the 80s, you get to pick 5 of the 6 genres to take into the game, and you get the trade-in mechanic that's different from the base game. So it gives you a new mode of play for the game. So you get the familiar feeling of pulling the cards and doing the attributes, but you can also go to the front counter and trade albums in. So I can upgrade an album, or I can do things like that in the 80s expansion. So it was really kind of neat because we had all these things. We just couldn't get, we originally had talked about having these things on different boards around the board, but then that kind of made the game like, oh, it's kind of bogging it down. So when we came up with that idea to compartmentalize each thing, man, I mean, it was kind of like the light bulb kind of clicked, and then we just said, hey, let's assign this to this. So like, for instance, the Masters of Metal, right? So you get the swag, right? We get posters and concert tickets and
t-shirts
and stuff that goes like, that's awesome, right? Like you think when you were a kid, like you wore your concert t-shirt with like pride, right? So
it
was, and you had your,
I think he's still wearing his.
Yeah, right?
Whoa. Don't make fun of turtles, bro. Do not be slamming the turtles. So it's just like, it was neat that how everything kind of fit into its own thing. And then we kind of fleshed it from there and then pushed the envelope with each different module.
Well, I think what I think, and I don't remember when. I know it was sometime in the spring last year. It was early in the spring before we started going with this. Was we finally settled on, okay, we're not going to increase the number of locations because the player interaction that we saw in the game was just utterly critical. But we had all these extra things we wanted to do, and I think that's when the overlays came in and say, well, wait a second. What if you just, increase the number of actions, add a space, so players are still touching each other, you're still getting that bump piece, but you're just giving them more choices at that location. And then at that point, it's like the freaking skies opened up, and you're like, there you go. Now it's going to sing.
Right. Now, and then everything just kind of snapped in, boom, 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 for all the different things. I mean, and that's something that will, once this concludes, and we'll see what we can financially handle and what we can't for getting those things in. But like we've talked about a lot, this is something we want to support. So you're definitely going to see an expansion. And the interesting thing is, you look at the folks that have backed us this time around, I think once this kind of gets out and sees the light of day, I think a lot of people would play this game and be like, oh, crap, I got to own this game.
Yeah.
But there's only going to be so many games this print run. So that's the interesting thing that I think is going to happen with this. And, by next year, most likely with the limited run we're going to have through this Kickstarter, we're going to have to go back and do it again, but we'll do a really cool expansion. The cool thing we've talked about doing is anybody that was on board for this Kickstarter will get a jump start on on the next one. So you would get it at a better deal than anybody else who wasn't on board this time around. So that's something I believe in as a publisher. You take care of the people that take care of you. So that's something that means a lot to me. And that's a way that we can give back to the folks that, support us and see that our creations are brought to life.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I think one of the things that I definitely want to just give a sneak peek for some of the backers for the next iteration is personalities. That one I actually have flushed out quite well, where you can.
Yeah, so you're talking like personality, like as a shopper yourself, right? Like
Exactly, where you're carrying a personality, and you start off with starting cards and bonuses and missions and personal goals and all that, and that's sort of driving or helping you drive your decision making. And that's something that we want to stick in one of the planned expansions in the future. And that's going to be really cool. That's one of those pieces where, when you look at some of your games and you said, okay, if you look at some of your games, they start off where everyone's equal. And then you say, okay, well, then once you've gone through a few runs, you flip it over and now everyone's different. Terra Mystica is the one that comes to mind, if I recall correctly.
Azul's like that too.
Azul's like that too, exactly. So, that's something that will add more spice to the game as we progress, and several other ideas. Goodness gracious. I mean, there's no shortage of content when it comes to this.
But the neat thing is, man, is it always goes back and centers around that same concept of pulling mag rack cards and the attributes and pulling your albums from the grid. I mean,
Vinyl, the dice game.
Oh, God have mercy.
At Vinyl, the roll and write game.
Vinyl, the roll and write game.
Vinyl, the roll and write game.
Well, I always wanted Wind Vinyl, the 45 edition, where you're just playing with the cards and just going there. But yeah, no, it's so.
You could do that with the dice. You could have the 45 edition with the dice.
I know.
Very true. Very true.
That is true.
So I mean, there's lots of cool things like that, but it's pretty neat. I mean, that's the interesting thing, and we had a lot of discussions. I remember all these talks we had about, okay, so how do we want to do this, and what do we want to put in the base, and what can we afford? And I mean, it really comes down to like
so let's talk a little bit about the publisher side of this, Wash. From the publisher side, there's a couple different things that we were looking at. We knew what price range we wanted to keep it out. Yeah. And we wanted it not as necessarily a gateway game, but like a step up, because we already had kind of a 6-player partyish game with House of Borgia.
Yeah.
By Scott Alms. And then we had a two-player head-to-head game and with King's Champion. And so we wanted this to be kind of that light to medium,
right?
Kind of the Takanoko range, where it's not quite gateway, but you still can teach it to
noobs, right?
New gamers. So we had that. So we had that kind of price point and weight that we're really trying to stay with. As you guys are designing it, and the two of you would go on these rampant ideas, and then I'd be like, no, this.
Me?
Yeah. Right? Well, yeah, Wash.
Whoa.
We're like, reel it back in. Remember, this is our target audience.
Oh, hey, a stereo man. I know I said that.
Right, I think you were the one that was like, hey, you could go to the record store and you could buy like a new turntable and better speakers. And that was Hancock's inception. You need to build your personal stereo system at home.
Right?
Yeah.
See, you can even go that route. Once you get the record collection at home, that would be like, what is that? The Last Will and the other game that you can combine and play as one big game.
Yeah.
See, there we go.
The mega store.
You got to go to the store to get your gear, to get your stereo gear, in order to match your collection, because you can't have one without the other.
Hey, by the way, in case anyone's paying attention, we just looked like we unlocked the record tokens.
Yay!
And I think Wash has a crappy computer and crashed.
Did he?
Oh, I have a dual monitor. You gotta get with the ages.
It doesn't do any good when this internet sucks.
The problem exists between the keyboard and the chair.
So what was it 37.5 is what we had it set up?
I think so. I mean, I should know this campaign like the back of my hands because I know I was
Well,
up and down.
we did change the stretch goals around too.
Yep,
so.
37.5. Yeah, rewards tokens become records. Yeah. Okay, but we can't spell thematic. Great. Okay, good. We'll just skip that and just move back up.
Did he misspell it?
Oh.
This is why I check his writing.
I know. I told him to download Grammarly and put it on his computer because it will help him out. But I like how we're making fun of him. He'll catch us on when he listens to the recording.
Right. Yeah, I think he totally crashed out. Hopefully he's got, I'll shoot him another invite real quick.
Maybe lightning strike or something.
It's Arizona. They don't have that there.
Yeah, I know, right? You got to wait for the power to cycle up.
Maybe that he may have to wait for. But on the publishing side of things, that was one thing that we're really kind of working to.
Yeah.
That was like our two goals that we're trying to achieve in that. So it's kind of interesting is that it's trying to find that happy medium between ideas, between what we can get, what we can do for expansions,
right,
and keep it in that goal
that
we're kind of looking at.
And I know we discussed, if I recall correctly, and just bear me, I can't remember if it was the 1st November or 2nd November because right now it's all blur. Yeah, but right? I mean, we always said that we want to be that next level. Okay, you're done with Splendor. Now take this thing on. And that was the target audience right from the get-go, and trying to keep it so it kept people's interest. They sort of had that set collection mindset, and were able to easily move forward. And sidebar real quick, when I started playing this with the worker placement, the bump mechanic and whatnot, I had one designer pull me aside, and he's like, Eric, I'm looking at this game, and there's some subtleties that I didn't pick up until about midway through, where when you play vinyl now the first time, you're like, okay, I'm just lollygagging along, I'm collecting albums and all that. Then you play it the second round, you're like, wait a second, if I pay attention, I could really screw some people with this and take their albums and impact them, and not necessarily take that, but definitely you definitely
indirect.
You amp up the interaction. Yeah. And then the third piece was, okay, whoa. So if I help this person, they're getting a free action off of me. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to try to do something else. And so you saw that gradation of strategy progress as players kept on coming back and playing vinyl. And that, I thought that was really cool. But yeah.
Yeah. And then taking it to that next level, watching where people were, I don't know. Apparently the dog wanted out. But taking it to that next level of watching what people were collecting to try to grab, or watching where you think they were going to go to get that extra action as well.
Right. Well, and that's what was nice about so when I designed the 2-player version of the game, that was something I really focused in on. Was I made it so that you had the non-playable character essentially going around the board in sort of a semi-normal state as a normal player. But what I was doing was you could sort of like, okay, if I time this right, I could sort of get a free action out of this, or sort of move here, anticipate getting something out of it. So, because what tends to happen is when you play the 2-player version, you're like, oh, okay, I'm just moving this person around, whoop-de-doo. But then after a while, you're like, whoa, wait a second here. Actually, if I time this right, I could sequence my actions just right. So that really helped out the game, and players started to come back saying, "Oh, okay, I see what you're doing with this. This makes sense now."
Yeah. And then adding in the other modules adds that extra depth as well.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, that's when you start to add in. I remember, again, I know I put this on the Kickstarter post, was the clearance bin. The clearance bin was always there, but it was one of those pieces where it just sat there, and you only filled during the salesperson, and so you had this like awkward space, like, what do I do with this? And then Wash just says, "Oh, freak this! I'm just going to fill it up and drop it through." And and that worked. But when we played it, we're just like, oh, this is not really a clearance bin. Why don't we make this the sales display and sort of give it a semi discount? And then that really sung. But then I was like, okay, what do I do with this poor clearance bin? And then we brought the clearance bin back in as a module. As okay, well, this is the last lick before it really goes out of game, and that just again amped up the decision space and made the game interesting.
One of the things that got changed late is how the wild cards actually work.
Yeah, that was one of those pieces that
was one of our battles back and forth.
I know we went round and round with that. Well, because I remember I think it was down at BGG where we were just literally handing wild cards around like there was candy.
Yeah.
And that was something that was like, okay, this sort of going the direction that we don't want it to do. So yeah, making them pop out and be worth points and whatnot was pretty good and sort of controlled the wild cards in that regard.
Yeah,
and I'm back. Sorry.
You made it back.
I don't know what happened.
It must be the dual monsters, man.
No, I don't know. I gotta upgrade. I'm like running low.
Are you running Bitcoin mining? You must be doing Bitcoin mining.
I am with my Bitcoin computers over here on the floor. So all right. Anyway, I put the new graphic up.
All right.
Nice.
So for the
is that what crashed
record tokens? No, I don't know. I had all this stuff running and I had Illustrator open. Illustrator eats up so much RAM. Yeah. So
I tell you what, I will say one thing about this campaign. If I could rant for a bit, I think I've pulled more time pixel pushing than I ever done in any other freaking damn game.
That's right, man. We're a small outfit, my brother.
Holy cow.
Is that including Cobras, which you ran?
Oh, yeah, including Cobras.
Oh!
He hired out for Cobras.
Yeah. I mean, I did Cobras, and luckily with that one, I just had to assemble the art for the campaign. And luckily, I don't know, the graphic designer gave me the original files instead of me hacking at PNG files to get freaking artwork on the screen. Watch.
It's all right, bro.
Hey, can you update the loyalty card? Yeah, where's the original file? Oh, man, I forgot to give you that. Oh.
Right. So what?
pushing my skill sets here.
All right, so we got to make an album in the game. He's a themaniac.
There you go.
Sorry, we were dogging on your spelling skills while you were gone.
Oh, yeah.
On mine?
Yeah. On yours.
Who else?
You can go back and listen later. It'll be all right.
Yeah, you'll catch it later.
You wait till I'm gone to...
Well, we didn't have the technical difficulty.
Wow. That's jacked up, man. When have I ever claimed to be a good speller? Ever.
Nobody ever said that. No.
I don't think I've ever said I'm a good speller. In fact, I think when I sent stuff to you jokers, I'm like, I haven't checked that for spelling yet. I think that's the caveat that I always send it with.
Well, right. You didn't really need to specify that. We knew.
Jackwads, man. Jackwads.
By the way, thematic is spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
It's not even close.
Well, it's close. It has a T and an H in it.
And ends in a C. Great. Throw a bunch of vowels and consonants there. We'll get it close.
Oh my God. Are you gonna I'll open up Illustrator and fix it. I might crash my system.
You only got 45 minutes now, no point. It's all good. In fact, I'm not the one who even caught it because I didn't even look at it. So
hey man, that's okay. Because when I said, hey, here's the King's Champion rule book, take a look at it and let me know. Oh yeah, it's good. And then I'm like, okay. So it goes out, and then Sarah Reed sends me a message on Twitter and is like, what the hell? Did you even, like, I'm like, yeah, I sent it to somebody. Did they not do their job? Oh, okay.
Wow, we're going back to
Wow.
King Champion.
The tiny bits.
Yeah, the micro bits, right?
Whoa.
Micro bits.
There is nothing wrong with the parts and the wooden pieces in that game. They're big enough to be silk screened.
Yeah, and the game comes with tweezers too. So if you didn't get your copy of a tweezers,
Oh my
hit
god!
Although I remember doing the micro version on Facebook for you. I thought that was pretty.
Thanks
fun.
a lot. Thanks a lot. Hey man, they fit with the game. They're awesome.
They are awesome. I will agree.
Yes, and the game rocks. It does play well. I need glasses and a jeweler's glasses, but that's okay.
Here we go.
Play with your little dinky cards and your little.
You know what? We got a lot of game in that little box, though.
There is a crap ton of game in that box, man.
There is.
You can there, and if you get the expansion nights, which I'm waiting on what my airfare will cost for that thing, by the way. That he finally texted me. He's like, I'm ready to ship. I'm like, great. What's the air cost? I don't know. Let me ask. So I'm waiting on that to come back. But if you get the expansion nights, there's 36 nights, man.
Nice.
You can only play with 6. That's like so much replay. And I mean, the new nights don't have all their own powers. There's shared powers just because.
And just think after playing all the times you can play that game, you'll go blind. So you'll need a vision test.
Oh, here we go. Oh my god. I liked it better when my system was down.
It was quieter, wasn't it?
Dude, all right. I'm just gonna go over here and paint some miniatures for a while. You all can continue to do what you're gonna do.
Speaking of minis, how about let's talk about the guitar mini?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That was a story.
There you go.
That's because Wash says we need minis, dude. We gotta have minis.
Yeah, I said that many times.
Yeah.
Can we have minis? Can we have minis? Okay, yeah, I know someone that could sculpt it. And
right?
I think, it's done in a weekend, didn't we?
Oh, he did it in like 2.5 days. He got them all cranked out.
Yeah, and then
we did the first printing, and then we had to do some fixes. But yeah,
I mean, that came out really nice.
Yeah, they're beautiful, man.
So how did that come back? Because was that somebody you knew, Eric?
Yeah. So actually, one of my colleagues at St. John's is he's in the art and design department, and we got him hooked on 3D printing, hook, line, and sinker. So I came to him like, hey, what would you be willing to sculpt some guitars? And he says, yeah, sure. You got anything in mind? I'm like, just use your imagination at this point. I think Wash said something about bass and Van Halen guitar, and I don't know what he's talking about. Just use your imagination. So he's
I even sent pictures.
Yeah, whatever.
Wow.
So he comes back and says, I think Saturday. So I gave it to him Friday right after work, and Saturday midday he already had one done. So what do you think of this? I'm like, yeah, I think this qualifies. Sent her a wash. Well, I was like, oh my god, that was quick. And then we were like,
turnaround
go
was
for
fast.
it. And then literally, I think by Sunday, I came to work. He had it printed and in my hands at that point. So it's like, wow, that spun up quickly. But yeah, that just came together pretty nicely.
Yeah, it was cool too, though. And the interesting thing is, it's funny. So I get the first set, and I take them over to my buddy, who's a really good painter, minis painter, and I say, hey man, will you paint these for me? And he's like, yeah, man. So we get them painted, and so I get them, and I'm gonna play, and so I break them out, and the people I'm playing with, they go, well, do these replace the meeples or do they replace the scoring tokens? I'm like, I don't know. You could replace the meeples if you want, or they could be the scoring tokens if you want them to be the scoring tokens. And so we had a 10-minute discussion about should they be the scoring tokens or should they be replace the meeples? And
but we didn't expect that, actually.
no, I was like, thought they would be the player markers. Like I didn't even think about for the scoring, but it was cool, and the set's nice. So I ended up sending that painted set to Derek for his live stream. It was funny. So he sent me after the live stream. He's like, "Do I get to keep these?" I'm like, "No, you need. I need those back, dude." So it was pretty funny. But
did you send Derek? I can't remember the 3D printed crate too, because I remember I modeled up the crates.
Yeah, he got it. He got well. I Man versus Meeple. Like they took their
their set. So with the wooden deposit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I pushed a lot of pixels on this project. And if we're calling out people, then one of my other work colleagues, Nick, he's the one that did the main video, and that was a lot of fun. Whew, man, oh man. Oh
yeah, he did a good job, but I mean, we had to do. I mean, there's a lot of assets for that video, so
that was a big. Job.
I remember doing all the stuff. So yeah, and you're not wrong, High Culture. That's exactly what we had thought when we originally had thought, like, should we talk about doing minis or not doing minis? And I mean, that was the talk. Like, well, we're gonna step up to the pump, man. You might as well step up. Don't step up half-assed. I mean, that's something that people would like. People would want that in there. So the thought process was, okay, well, what's that going to run to put in and everything. So, we sent off the really late in the game. So like I sent off the bid to try and figure out what's that going to add to the cost of the game. And we had to reconfigure a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it worked. Yeah, it worked out in the end. It worked out good, and they're nice. So I'm glad we're able to include that and give that to people. I mean, it just kind of amps it up a little bit, and makes it a little more fun to play. So
the cool thing is, Colors Duo is what we wanted to do was have a plastic base that was the player's color, so the player can have whatever guitar they wanted, and that was something we wanted to do, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to do that this time around.
No, we'll have to save that for the next clip. But I mean, people can figure it out. It's kind of more like when you sit down to play, you could, I want the bass, I'll be the acoustic. I mean, you can
be the double neck,
right. You can take your pick. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, we originally wanted to have snap-on rings for the bottom, so to match your color. But I mean, that would have been pretty far down the line in the $60K range, because a whole nother mold. But
oh yeah, you definitely paint them yourself. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like they're coming gray, so everybody will be able to paint them and stuff. But we originally wanted to make the snap-on rings so you could play with a different guitar if you wanted to, and we didn't quite fund to the level that we would need to do that. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. Exactly. We got about 40 minutes left for the Kickstarter. Let's talk a little bit about because I know Washi had mentioned in the update. Snidey, I'm with you. I hate painting miniatures too. Random. Talk about what you plan on doing is paying it forward from Nightworks. Actually, you hadn't mentioned that in the update, but you mentioned it to me tonight. I'm assuming we're go on that, right?
We are. So we're gonna push to a different.
So kind of pay it forward for what Nightworks did for us, because that was a huge.
Correct. So I'll explain real quickly. So there's no doubt that we put this up, and we had a certain feeling of how it would do, and this campaign sort of stalled out a little bit, and so I mean, my first Kickstarter went up in 2011, so I've been on this platform for some time, and we kind of talked about, you know, what would work, what wouldn't work, and we retooled some stuff, and how can we do some things. Like, it's hard to do that mid-campaign. It really is hard to change. So Eric is really good friends with the guy that runs Nightworks Games, Don, and we met him last year, and I talk with him on the phone now a number of times, but wonderful guy, and just has a passion for games and a passion for his company and everything. So Eric had said, hey, why don't you reach out and touch base with him? He has an idea. And so I was like, okay, so we do that. And I talked to him, and he's like, hey, so I want to do something for Eric and for you, Wash. And I'm like, okay. So he says, I'm going to do a link for my campaign. And if people come and back your campaign, I'll give them something back in my campaign for coming to yours. So we kind of talked about what that was. And then a couple of days went by and we didn't see it. Of course, he went to a convention to play some games and stuff. And he got back home and put it together. So he put a update out for Dragon Keepers, a really cool game that I got to see at BGG because he had it in his booth last November. But so he puts an update out for Dragon Keepers where if they come to Vinyl via a specific link and they spend $3, they'll get that bag for free when it comes. If they don't back this game, they can still buy that bag, but it's going to cost more and they won't get it for free. So the day they did that, if you go and look at our kick tracks, you can see the day that happened, man. That bars, boom, we picked up like 100 and what was it, 164 or something on that day. Yeah. It was just incredible, the infusion. The interesting thing is that hit the same day we did the campaign on BGG, the contest.
Yeah,
so
that Monday.
Yeah, everything kind of hit at one time in the last week for us here, and just kind of the game exploded this last week, which was a good thing. I mean, you know, so we were able to unlock a lot of stuff and get more things into our backers' hands. But the idea that, you know, he had, and we talked, and then it comes to fruition, and it's just this really neat thing. So, you know, we want to do that same thing for somebody else. I mean, what a wonderful thing to be able to do for somebody. So there's another guy out there that's been designing games for a while, and he runs a company called Thunderworks Games. Keith, I think it's Mahita is how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah. I think so. He did Bullfrogs and excuse me, he did Bullfrogs and Role Player. Two great
Role
games.
Player. And then he had the third game too, Blend Off. As well. So right now he's running a campaign for a game called Dual Powers, and it's based on the Russian Civil War kind of thing in I think it's 1700s or whatever. The art is really, really great, and it's an area control game. It's really cool. So I contacted him and said, hey, so this guy does this really awesome thing for me for our campaign. I would like to do that awesome thing for you for your campaign. And he's like, well, what is that? And I kind of fill him in on what it is. And, you know, he comes back and he's like, oh my gosh, like, I can't even believe somebody would do that. And I'm like, no, like, if there's one person, he's always been there. Like, I've talked to him a lot through Twitter and over time. And for those folks that go back and look at, if you look at on Kickstarter, you can see my first game, Hooch. It didn't fund. It should have funded. It didn't fund. I just didn't have the visibility. I just didn't have a lot of the things I have in place now. But, you know, going back before that, I spoke with him before I put that game up and talked with him a lot about when I had that game up online and some different things. So he's always been there and an encouragement for me. So I think that's something that for me, it'd be really cool to be able to do that. So next week, you're going to see an update. And for those people watching, you're going to kind of get the inside track on this because nobody knows it's coming. But probably Tuesday-ish, I'm going to pop an update. And that update is going to have a specific link in it to his Kickstarter. If you click on that link and you go to his Kickstarter and you donate, I think we're going to do $3 or $4. I'm not quite sure yet. I think it'd probably be $3. But if you put $3 towards his campaign, and we have at least, I think we're going to do 75 people, 75 like backers or 85 backers, something like that. It would be a portion of what we have, but a portion of our backers go over there and give the $3 to his campaign. You will actually get the publisher expansion for free. We're going to put that into the game and give it to the backers that go support Keith Mahita's game, and you'll get it for free. You have to go through that specific link so that he can track it. If you don't go through that link, then I can't track you, and it will be a nightmare to try to qualify it. But the link will be in the update, and as long as you go through that link, then you'll be squared away. So donate on his. You come up as a backer on his campaign. We'll cross-reference back to ours, and that way we'll be able to track that. But what that will do is give him an infusion of backers. Now, it's not a whole lot of money at $3, but inevitably some of you folks may really like what you see and end up backing the game. We had a few people from Dragon Keepers actually back our game. So that's something that I want to do for him and do for us in our current campaign once it ends.
Yeah. For sure. When you mentioned that to me, I didn't realize Keith even had a new one.
Yeah. So, and it's a little slow for him, I think. And I'll tell you, man, that was something, and both you and Eric know this. It's so hard in Kickstarter. You don't know what else is coming. Like, you know, some things like there's no calendar somewhere that says this game is going here and this game is going here. And on this day, this game goes live. So you kind of really got to track that as best you can. And like, we had like a sheet and we had a lot of stuff written down of what we saw coming. But oh my gosh, when we popped the game, and holy cow, there was so much stuff on Kickstarter when we put this game up. It was just insane.
We end up launching on the same day as Fire in the Library as well.
Yes, Fire in the Library launched the same day, and they fund in one day. And I think
they had a smaller.
They did. They were at 15K. We picked up
price, but
9,000. So we had the biggest first day for Talent Strikes we've ever had. Yeah. And Vinyl is now the most funded game Talent Strikes has ever had as well. So we're breaking records of our own with this game, which we're super excited about. But it was just really interesting. So then, you know, we have that first big push and then nothing. And then I call Eric. I'm like, dude, did you see what went live today? He's like, no. So we go and we check.
Yeah.
It goes live, and we're like, man, did you know that was going live? No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, like Street Fighter, we had.
Oh, that's up. That's making a gajillion dollars. Dinosaur
Island.
And then
we were coming off the trail of Batman,
and now Fireball Island.
Yeah, it was just like, oh my god.
So it was just like one hit after another, bam, bam, bam. So it's been. Like you guys are with us is so awesome because if I go and check, like the last I looked earlier today, we've people that have backed the game but canceled their pledge is about in the 120 range right now. So I mean, take that number and put it back into what we have. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I mean,
we're not necessarily saying all these people.
No, but I mean,
it's didn't back because something else came out. But there definitely was. If you look on the backer and that we see, you can kind of see that there was somebody who you can look at what they that they quit. It gives you the time, the day, and then you can look at their
Right. See where they
what
went.
they're backing and see
Right.
what they're backing. And yeah, they dropped the pledge and now they're backing Fireball Island. Yeah, no, he didn't say he was doing that. Coincidence, maybe,
So I mean, it was pretty rough with some of what hit. So I mean, everybody that's just, I mean, there's a fair amount of people that have hung in there from the beginning, and it's just so awesome to have that support and see that support. I gotta tell you, it means the world to us.
I agree.
Yeah, hold on. So he's asking a question. If I back the copy of Dual Powers, you say I back it to the link, I get the publisher expansion for pledging. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So if you in that update, we'll have a link. You click that link, you go to his Kickstarter, you put $3 down,
Minimum.
Or more,
3 or more.
Yes.
So I mean, if you're going to back the game, wait for the link because you'll back it and then you'll get credit here for the publisher expansion. And the publisher expansion for vinyl, we kind of touched on it earlier, but it lets you track the 3 different publishers and the early and late decades, and you also get the frequent shopper and extreme shopper cards, which are variable powers that you own, you control as long as you have them. You can have 2 powers all the time. So like if you get 2 frequent shopper powers and you want to upgrade to the more powerful extreme shopper, you kick one back and you can pull another one. And they'll be drafted out of a row. But it's very cool. So yes, if you do $3 or more on his game, you get the publisher expansion for free from us.
Yep.
So if you're gonna back it, hold off for the link because you'll do it. And if we have crossover, I'll tell him, back your pledge out and then re-pledge under that link. So he'll still get the pledge, but we want to be able to track it. Like Kickstarter allows us to track a specific link. Yeah. So
I would say keep your pledge there until you get the link, because
right,
as we all experience, it's sort of disheartening to see the out and it's like, oh, what do we do wrong?
And we had some days
in life.
We had some days like that, man. I mean, like we had
2 days out of. I mean, you look at our chart, and the chart is pretty steady. But there were 2 days where there's because we'd had 3 pledge, 3 stop, so it's like 0. And there was like another day we had 3 pledge and 4 cancel, so we had like a -1.
Right.
Everything after that was at least going upwards, but there were 2 specific days, like a week apart, that was like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, but I mean it'd be cool, and that's something we really would like to do. And I'm hoping that it was funny when I told Keith that. He goes, now I'm thinking about what campaign I can do that for. So it is really neat. Yeah. 2 people did drop the platinum over the course of actually 3. So I had 10 slots, and then I got a contact from a guy, and he said, hey, are you going to open up more slots? Which always happens. Yes. Talent Strikes has done these cool boxes that nobody else does. It's a ton of work for me, but I really like doing it. And it's like you can't get that kind of game anywhere else. I mean, the box is freaking awesome. I got one over here. Hold on. My cord will reach.
He's got to pull his computer out of the damn outlet.
Oh, crash again.
We got to stop talking.
That's the box, man. Look at how beautiful that thing is. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that looks sweet.
It is. It's great. And the game fits in it with everything. I mean, you can't beat that. And nobody else does that. So that ends up being the thing. So every Kickstarter, we've gotten messages. Hey, are you going to open more slots up? Because inevitably, they always fill up. So I was like, yeah, I'll open up 10 more. So I opened up 10 more. And then the day I opened that up, some guy drops the 350, and the new guy that wanted it just picks up that 10th spot. And then we've had another couple people back out of that, but then you upgraded as well. So, I mean, it's well worth it. Like I got pictures on the Kickstarter from Borgia. House of Borgia, we sold out the 10 like before, like in the first hour. Yeah. And then I opened up 5 more and they all filled up, but then 2 of the people didn't, their credit cards didn't.
You ended up opening up 5 more because you had people asking. Yeah. We ended up filling up 20.
And no, it was I did 13 total. So we had 15 that went out, and then 2 people's didn't, their credit cards didn't go through. So their pledge was canceled. So I did 13 boxes and then in King's Champion we did, because we did art as part of a level, some people wanted to get their kids as squires, but they still wanted the big box. And that big box was neat. I still have one sitting here. The guy doesn't want me to mail it till the Knights expansion comes in. But, you know, in the House of Borgia, we did dice rolling cups, and same thing with King's Champion. We have like little chalices in there. They're wooden. They're beautiful. So with the vinyl, we're gonna do you're gonna get a plastic crate instead of the cardboard construct plate crate that we've unlocked. So you'll get a hard plastic one. You'll get. I'm gonna hand make a cover for your rule book that's like a vinyl slip cover that'll, you know, your rule book will be able to pull out from in that, and all the tokens will. So now that we funded the record tokens, you'll get a set of those in wood in your game. They'll be really cool.
23 minutes to go. We are almost at 38,000 actually. It'd be nice to break that 38,000 mark. That'd be cool.
It'd be way cool. So, I mean, the neat thing is that, and I think that we've all talked about that. I think that's something we're going to continue to do on our Kickstarters, is offer this collector's wooden box, as long as we can keep doing it. I mean, you know, it's a high-end product and it's a boutique style game. You get a lot of little extras inside it, and any expansions that come with this through the Kickstarter, you get that for free in the 350 box here. So like you get the 80s and your you know, anything that comes in the backer kit for purchase, that's just automatically included in your pledge. So if we're able to get the you know, if we don't, for whatever reason, in the next 20 minutes, we don't make it to the British invasion, and we offer that as something in the backer kit, that would be something at the 350 level you would just get. You don't have to back it. You don't have to put money in. You already would have that coming.
It would be nice, Gretchen. I agree, to get that British invasion. So close.
I keep on refreshing the page.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's something we want to do, and definitely when this thing comes to an end and we look at what we can do and what we can't do.
No, we're not totally. Are we for sure doing the British invasion as an add-on? Because I know we kick back and forth.
It's a priority on the list. So yes, I mean that we want to.
I know we want to, but
I can't. I can't go into the poorhouse for it. But
come on, it's nice.
I know. Trust me. I will go all in. Like King's Champion was $23, and you don't even want to know what it cost me to manufacture that per game with 54 stinking dice in it. So
the micro components too.
The micro components. Right. I mean, I lost money on that Kickstarter.
He lost little pennies.
Wow. Miniature pennies. Thank you. So, I mean, trust me, if I can get it in there, even if it means taking a hit, I'll do it, because it, you know, that's the whole point of making the game, you know. I mean, I'm fortunate. I have a good job, and some folks rely on this stuff to make money for them, like a living. I'm not there for that. I mean, I have a
Not
regular
yet.
job, and no, we need to make a whole lot more.
Right.
But I mean, for right now, for what it is for us, I mean, it's all about trying to, just make the coolest game we can make.
Yeah.
For our backers, and we're not concerned so much about what the back end is, as long as we're not, going thousands of dollars into the red, So, but
It's 180s expansions. That's everyone a free expansion. There you go.
right. So, I mean, it's right. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you had the people that up there, right, that did that, that's what it would equate to.
Yeah.
They could do that and get a free expansion out of it. But I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, like there's so much stuff that we wanted to stretch into. You never know where your Kickstarter is going to go, how much it's going to make or not make, or do or not do. And like, I couldn't have predicted this last week to collect the amount of folks we've had.
No, not at all.
Come in this week. I mean, it's just been really overwhelming for us as a publishing house. And I know Eric as a designer, and
I think I can screen share and then put just to kind of show what the graph looks like.
Sure.
So there is, so let me refresh this. So that's what our graph, can you see that?
I don't know. We're waiting.
Huh?
No, I don't think so. So I think we got the video.
Oh, there we go. How's that?
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
So this just kind of shows them how we see it as far as the over last 30 days, how the graph is actually panned out. As you can see, there is one day that's 226, 230, and then 231. That's where we kind of had those couple of rough days. But and then we hit the goal, and it's this last few days. I mean, it's been great. So anyways,
yeah,
just kind of shows the backers a little bit on the back end.
Well, and I think that's a big thing right there. We had a lot of backers believe, help out, tweet, just carry the message, and just never gave up. And that's especially for me. I know Wash and I talked about this a lot. It meant a lot as a designer to see that level of investment by the backers. That says something. So I definitely appreciate it.
And there's just been awesome people. Like High Culture's been Town Strike's person since Hooch. I remember when Hooch hit, and she sent me a message. She's like, "Dude, this is the coolest shit ever." And I was like, "Thank you so much. Like, you're so awesome. I got one person that loves it." And I mean, since then, like,
y'all said Johan in there. I mean, Evan, and the most recently,
Johan was awesome.
Oh, geez. I mean, he was catching us on BGG. I mean, just so many people. I don't even want to name names because I know
Jason Munry did a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
And then we have a guy in Germany, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we put the game out there, and this guy from Germany, like, sends me a message, and he's like, "Hey, I got like 9,000 vinyl records in my house. And I'm a huge gamer. This is totally my game. What do I got to do to get a copy of this in Germany? Like, I want to play it now." And so we go through this whole thing to like get a game sent to them. And it's just like it's been stuff like that you just can't. You can't.
The amount like we had a little bit of comments and stuff during King's Champion. There was a little bit, but there was so much more in this one. It was amazing. I mean, I stayed out of a lot of it. Eric definitely picked up because he had a lot more to say about this one than I did. And it was nice having the designer on board to talk about that as well. I mean, King's Champion Wash was a designer of it, so it was just the two of us at that point. So, but following through and just kind of keeping up on it and throwing my sense. I mean, when the I think doing the Masters of Metal, that was a lot of fun for me personally.
Oh yeah,
Talking music and stuff like that. So I appreciate everybody's comments, and it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, this has definitely been that way. I mean, like King's Champion funded about halfway through the campaign, I want to say. I mean, it was a slog, but it not like this. I mean, this game kind of held out for a long time, and then we Dawn hooked us up, and then boom, we hit the front page, and then everybody else that was already on board, just making all the extra noise, really kicked it into high gear for us, and it's been really cool. And I'll tell you, I mean, like the cool thing is like it's so much fun when we were conceptualizing the Masters of Metal. I mean, I remember that afternoon, like how we and you and me are on the phone for like 4 hours.
One metal guy talking to an opera majors guy,
right? So we're like trying to figure out like what bands and what's got to be in there and what's not in there. And I mean, it was really cool that way to kind of go down that road. So
and bouncing it off people, off the backers and stuff like that. It was a great conversation.
I'm live streaming right now.
Was he ordering pizza? What?
No, my wife's calling. You never say no to the wife.
This is what I had to deal with. We
got. What do we got? Let me refresh. 13 minutes to go.
Yeah.
13 minutes to go.
Now they're like, okay, well, did you do this? Did you take out the trash?
You on your way home?
Did you? Oh, yes. Here we go. Did you take out the water? All right. Did you get me food? Did you make coffee?
All right. Bye.
And then you get the vacuum going in the background.
Here we go, man.
So 13 minutes, 37,905. What we're sitting at right now.
Yeah, that's what we're at.
So, the other thing that you did mention in the update is having people, and I think Doan, somebody had just mentioned in the because I switched pages, about people putting up pictures or doing pictures and stuff for album covers.
Yeah, so this is really a cool thing, like something that really interests me. And we did this with King's Champion, and we did it like as low cost as we could. Like, I'm not the illustrator for King's Champion. The illustrator, Rebecca Barnes, is freaking awesome and did just a great job for us. So in order to get people in the game in that, I had to pay her. So her minimum charge to do like a small piece of art and a bigger piece of art, and that's what the cost was on the Kickstarter. Like, we didn't make any money on that. The money just went right to Rebecca. So in this instance, something I want to continue on, if we can do that, is to have backers put art in the game. I mean, how cool is that to be able to back a project, help Cole what's going to be in it, like with this band or this band, and then how awesome would it be to have a photo of yours come up on an album cover? I mean, that is just, to me, that's freaking cool. And if I was back in somebody's game and they offered that, to me, that's like, no way, right? So that's kind of like I talked with Derek about, are you okay with that? I mean, as a publisher, I can override him and say, I'm going to do it anyway, but I never want to be that kind of publisher. I mean, it matters to me what the designers think, because I'm a designer too, and I don't ever want to be that guy. So it was really kind of cool to talk with him, and he was open to the idea. So for what we want to do is, I want to have a location you can send your pictures into, and you can submit as many as you want. There's no limit. They got to be family friendly, and they got to thematically match. But so the idea is, get you and a couple of friends, dress up or whatever as a heavy metal band, and then go to a loading dock or something somewhere that it would take pictures at, and shoot some pictures of you guys, like a heavy metal poster would be on your wall, right? And then you submit those. And I got to tell you, like the Masters of Metal, there's 6 bands and there's 12 albums. Right? Is it 12, Eric? 12 per band.
Yes.
So whatever we pick, I hope you submit 12 photos, because we'll take a look at that. Now, we might not use a photo for every single thing, but no, dog, you're going to step on my power cord. Move. I love you.
It'd be crashing again.
Right. I don't need to do that. Okay, lay down right there, Milo. You're doing good. So
he picks up right where he look. That's amazing.
That was one of the cool things that we really want to do with that. So not only that, but just the albums in the base game and the albums for the 80s expansion and all these different stuff. So, you know, that's something I want the backers to participate in, is just submit photos and submit art if you want. Somebody asked about that.
Yeah,
I'm all for that too.
Actually, the guy who I used and basically sucked his brain out, Gary, he was my record store aficionado. He actually owned a record store in the 80s, and I got quite a bit out of him. He started pulling up art. He says, "Hey, I'm going to send this in. I'm going to send this in." I'm like, by all means, that looks really good. He's a good artist. So
send in your art, man. We'll use it. Like, I think that's the coolest thing.
Wash, didn't you, if I'm not mistaken, get a band or two actually reach out to you and say, "Hey, you know, can we actually just submit our band?"
Right. Yeah. We got a couple of people that have bands that are in this, and they were like, can we just submit all our promo? I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, I mean, we'll have a great time going through them and picking what fits and what works. And I think that's great. I mean, like, how cool is that to be able to play a game? And not only that, you know, you throw it down on the table at a convention or something, and then you're in it. Like, you have your artwork on the album cover for the game. And the cool thing is, right, like I don't have it with me, but the album cards, the back of the album card is the full picture.
Yeah, actually, very quickly, sidebar, that was one of the things that came on quickly. Was we knew that we were going to do individual art, and we're like, God, we want to make sure people see the art. And so we're like, well, okay, why don't you just put the art on the front side and it's all its entirety. So, you know, basically where that's there on
right,
the screen,
like this,
that's going to be the complete album art. So you can actually see all the beautiful art, and then when you flip it over, you'll actually see the art embedded within the card and its properties.
Right.
So that was something that came up and was just, oh man, that's going to just make the thing sing.
Right. So it's going to be very cool. I mean, that's
because it didn't matter if you saw the next album or not.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Exactly.
By the way, we just crossed 38.
So, awesome. 38.
Yay. Nice.
Woo!
Nice.
7 minutes.
Cool. Yeah.
We'd love to have your picture in High Culture.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, probably going to a loading dock by yourself is probably not best.
Right. Well, the cool thing is, though, is like the 80s, it's a genre, right? So there's 6 genres. So each album can be different in that, you know, whereas like the metal will settle down into certain things because they're all about bands. But I mean, like, I'm
writing that down. High Culture.
When we kind of talked about that, it was really interesting and it was a lot of fun to talk about that and I think it'll be really, really special to be able to include backers into the game that way.
Right.
Well, people that participate.
We did that, and I can't remember when we started to open up on BGG, people suggesting names of bands, and
yes,
I mean, it just came like a wildfire flood.
It's cool.
Of names. It was awesome.
Like, we'll keep doing that, so we'll keep running that thread. I mean, while we're, we have a lot of art that we got to get done for the game. So as we start to cull all this art and do that, like, we're gonna pick the parody names. So, you know, go to BGG and in that parody thread, list your best things that are in there, because that's what's going to go in the game. There's how many? So let's count the albums. Like, how many albums do we got to do, Eric? I mean, 74.
We don't got that kind of time.
Well, there's 74 in the base game.
So to answer Mike's question real quick, yes, the 80s is not a genre, and it has 6 genres. I don't remember exactly what they all are. Do you remember, Wash, off the top of your head?
Yeah, I can list them. There's one that's going to change.
We're doing glam rock to
hair
I know you got reggae, R&B,
Hairband.
you got hair, you got dance. I thought new wave was in there.
Yeah, so it's dance, hip hop, new wave. It'll be hair bands, R&B, and reggae.
Yeah,
there we go.
We wanted to have a nice array, and we did some research into what was popular then.
Yeah,
and
thank
I
you,
had
Google.
somebody like make some comment that like reggae. Why the heck? And I'm like, yeah, man, that was like it was.
Oh,
It had a pretty good run. So, but we will change it. We're going to change glam rock
after Eric Clapton did
big
"I
hair.
Shot the Sheriff" in the late '70s, and then Bob Marley became really big.
Yes,
And
exactly.
there's
So, but it'll have that look. So the totally '80s. It's going to have kind of that pink look to it. That's very '80s. So all the card art will look that way, and the chrome outline on the symbols will be there, and everything for the '80s. The metal will be really kind of have more of a grunge thrash look to it, and then each band is just a spoof on a real band's logo.
Right.
So that'll be in there too. So it's just recognizable. Because we really wanted the art to like pop with this thing and to be very different, and I think it is with the blue and orange and on the cover. I mean, that's the cover of the game. When we came up with that, I didn't want to change it. I really like how that's going to look on a shelf and pop. I mean, you don't see that a lot in the board game world. So 38-100 coming down to 3 minutes.
216 cards, so 216 pieces of art.
216 albums. That's what we got to do. So submit a lot of photos.
And then I know, yeah, someone's gonna be busy.
712 backers now.
Nice.
So this is our highest funded game so far. House of Borgia made 37,300.
Well, even if you look at the, because I was looking at the chats too, or the comments, he had 12 average per day for King's Champion, and the one for vinyl is at 21. So just, I mean, off the charts there.
Yeah, the only thing we're a little short on is that we had 781 backers on King's Champion.
Oh, come on. Why are we going to go there?
Yeah, but I mean, the interesting thing is, though, is that, I mean, that the price of that game was,
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we're at 712, so we're dang close. So,
and awesome. There's, I mean, that's the thing, too, is, I mean, we had all those people come over from the Dragon Keepers for the Dragon Bag, too. So, there's a fair amount of that. But, yeah, I mean, just really, really cool to have that. And something that's interesting too is doing the live cast like this. We did that. We started that with our last game, and it went really well. So doing that with this game, we're going to continue to do this with each of our projects. We do have between doing an expansion for this later on in the future, I do have another game signed that we hope to bring to Kickstarter next year. So
or the end of this year. I thought we were looking at the end of this year or beginning.
Nah, next year.
Okay.
January, February timeframe. But
gotcha.
So and we'll put out more information on that game. We're very excited for that one too.
We're just 90-second countdown.
Yeah, coming down into 1 minute here. But
like New Year's.
It is, man. So for those people who are with us, thank you so much for hanging in there and doing what you guys have done. Just such a great thing to be able to share this with you and make it just a wonderful experience. So thank you so much for supporting Talent Strikes and supporting Eric and getting his first published game. It's been a long time coming for this guy, and he definitely deserves it.
Wait, this is your first published?
It is
first
indeed.
Published. This is not his first design, but
I mean, I published the game, but that's me being the publisher, not the designer.
Yeah, he's had a couple others that have been picked up, and he's had one that was attempted but didn't make it. So, this is his first one that's going to come to fruition as a designer. So,
Can't wait
Very-
to peel the cellophane off this one.
Right. This is going to be very cool, man. So thank you so much, backers. Thank you so much for taking the time and interacting with us and supporting this endeavor. I hope that we earn your trust through this project, and we can, have you along the road for whatever Talent Strikes does next. And there you go.
And there it is.
38,157.
For all acquaintances.
So just to
actually,
touch on
714 backers. One slid in at the 1 second mark.
did he?
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
So something that just want to share with you guys a little bit. Oh yeah. So a bump to 213.
And told you watched. Leave
Yeah.
it later.
So couple of things just want to put out there before you guys all take off. We do a podcast. We pop that a couple times a month. It's the Docking Bay 94 podcast where Jason and I talk about we push Kickstarters every week on ours. We talk about what we're backing and what's coming out and interesting stuff that way. So if you're into podcasts, hit us up and join that. We'd certainly love to have you along. And please continue to interact with us on Facebook and Twitter. We're always on Twitter, and we love to hear those things. We are going to BGG this year. We will definitely have a pre-production copy of this. We hope to have this out to our backers by then. That's the goal. So we'll see.
And we're actually sharing a booth with Don.
Right. So we'll have a booth this year. You can come by and do those things. But anyway, thanks for spending the last 90 minutes of the campaign with us. Thank you so much.
We do talk a little bit about X-Wing and Star Wars, obviously, because we're big Star Wars geeks as well. So it does bleed into other pop culture, but the main focus is board games.
Yeah, it certainly is. So, but yeah, nah, we call it just because we're such big Star Wars fans. We almost called it the Jason's podcast, and we kind of we didn't do that, but so we went with the Docking Bay 94. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you get the
subtle, gentlemen, subtle.
Yeah. Hey, killing me.
Yeah, the Jason's podcast just wasn't working for me.
No, we didn't want to go there, but so the Docking Bay 94 works good. So, all right, I think we're gonna sign off for those people on the East Coast. It's late. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you. See you in the update. Don't forget the update's coming next week, where we can go in and back dual powers, and you guys will get the publisher expansion for free. So that's something we're really excited about giving. Thank you, High Culture. Thank you, Duo Max. Schneidi, it's awesome to have you with us.
Johan's
Thank you so
there.
much, Johan, and all the people that gave so much of themselves for our campaign. Thank you.
I saw Gretchen go by.
Yeah, Gretchen was here today. Just so awesome to have you guys with us. Mike,
stopping by.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.